just do this before opening bell. It's 8:30 a.m. on the 6th of October. News is just coming in. We'll take a look at everything. Risk disclaimer: no, there's risk in trading. Please know, use trade capital only. You know the deal there. If you're here for the first time or checking it out, it's the best place to find us live, youtube.com/Chris Pulver. And also you can follow me on, I stream this session on multiple platforms, but looking for some active tweets at Real Chris Pulver is my Twitter handle. Verified account also on my Discord channel, which I'll post in the YouTube link in just a moment. Let's get to the charts. I'm just looking at pre-market. We're at 421 on the SPY. I want to get a look at the data. So I'm going to Financial Juice right here and looking to see if there's any high impact news for the US. Here we go. So CAD came in 63.8, forecasted 20. CAD 5.5 versus 5.6 unemployment rate. Looking for the US. This all printed at 8:15. How is there not live US unemployment, average hourly earnings, labor force participation, same as 62.8. Locked and loaded for September payrolls. Unemployment rate down to, let's see here. I guess let's look at Forex Factor. I'm surprised it just didn't show it right there at the top. Here we go. Forex Factory, Friday, numbers. Wow, 336. Interesting. Man, I don't really know how the market wants to take this. We do see unemployment rate going higher. We see average earnings going lower. That's actually a good thing as far as the Fed is concerned for a softening labor market. More participation in the labor force, less strain on companies for average hourly earnings, and a slightly higher, actually just revisiting the recent high at 3.8% on the unemployment rate. So there's possibly a way that today's news still keeps the SPY above 420, and maybe we still see that move towards like 425 today. So let me take a look at that. All right, let's jump into the YouTube channel. Say good morning, everybody. So 420.54. You know, my chart alarm is set here at the lows at 420. If that level gets it not just tested today, but breached, if we actually close below 420, then next week is kind of a make or break. I know I've been talking about this all week. Essentially, if we hold 420, the market comes back up and maybe has some short-term rally because we've had high to low, lower high to lower low. So this type of rip to the upside makes a little bit of sense. I mean, to me, it makes a lot of sense, but I'm not, going nuts there. I still have to position accordingly. But like I said, if we go below 420, next week's a make or break, because if we're below 420 on the SPY, bears have a lot of control to the downside, and the bulls would be fighting back in a big way. So again, that might be the type of situation where a straddle could be good next week, or a butterfly could be good next week to trade a little bit of the indexes. So I'll be watching this all morning. So we're at pre 420. We closed yesterday at 424, which means if I go to a smaller time frame, I will be looking for a bit of a gap fill this morning to see if 420 continues to hold. Okay, so we had a test over here at 420 and change. We're sitting here pre-market around the same levels. So if we open up today, right here, okay, with this gap from yesterday, I'm going to look to see if that gap gets filled. Okay, now because we are an hour away from opening bell, there is a chance that this pre-market starts to work its way back up. We'll be watching that from the futures market this morning. Okay, so let me log into YouTube and say good morning, everybody.
Money.com guys, definitely.
All right, Peter, good morning. Gary, good morning. Denise, what's happening? Trish, good morning. Jason says, come on, dollars, stay strong. Jason, that probably makes like one of us. I think a lot of traders have been looking for dollar weakness. Larry, good morning. Everett, good morning. David, Jeremy, what's happening? Nice to see everybody. Happy Friday. Non-Farm Friday. Nice to see everybody. And then over here, I'll pull up the Discord channel. Okay. All right, it's been posted in the YouTube link. Discord channel's open. I will share the invite. And if you are watching this as a recording, if this is after the session and you're watching this recording, then you are more than welcome to leave me a comment. If I post here, join my Discord channel. If for some reason the Discord channel isn't working and you can't get to the Chris Pulver trading thread, then just leave me a comment in the video. Okay. And I'll make sure you find a way to join or join me live, and it usually works because I'll see people pop in all the time. Okay, so like I said, we're going to be watching this morning for the futures market. See if there's an upturn. Like I said, the market might take this as it might take it as a positive. And how is that the case? Well, like I said, a softening labor market works two ways. It's not necessarily just the jobs number, but because unemployment is ticking up slightly and average hourly earnings is pushing lower, then that wage strain is a good thing, meaning lack of wage strain. So it's companies aren't having to kind of overpay for less workers, right? Now, again, that's only 1/10 of 1%, but I just think that's probably better than printing higher. The unemployment rate higher is better than printing lower, but that was a pretty big beat considering ADP on Wednesday was a disappointment, right? 154 came in 89. That is why I don't even know why we have this job number, because it matters very little in the grand scheme of non-farm for the week. And usually they always line up the same time, where it's like Wednesday's ADP numbers, Friday's non-farm numbers, and this is the number that most of the market pays attention to. Okay, so anyway, watching this number as we're watching the session today, and I get into equities on demand at 10 a.m. Eastern time after opening bell, then I'm looking to see if there is a chance to trade this area. What I might end up doing is doing something where if we fill this gap, I might look at something that's out of the money for Delta Trader. So I could look at like a 423 or 424, maybe pay, you know, 50 cents for it, 40 to 50 cents. That's my max risk. And if this trade goes up, that could be a 2 to 3x return. So that might be an option for me this morning. And I'll price that in once we get closer to opening bell. Um, anyway, so that's what I'm thinking out loud. Let's go back to some other charts. If you have any questions on the charts, let me know. Morning, Daniel. Morning from South Africa. Yeah, nice to see you, man. Where you at in South Africa? Got a couple guys I work with in South Africa. Okay, 106.74. Jason was asking for a stronger dollar. You're getting it today, dude. Currency strength chart. Here's the look. Dollar up, CAD up. Again, CAD beat the markets in a big way too as far as forecast. 22 came in 63. 5.6 was forecast. Unemployment came in 5.5. So that's kind of a triple beat on CAD employment. I wonder what this is doing to dollar CAD, by the way. So, we're not getting a huge breakout on the vertical axis, and I wouldn't be surprised. This is what typically happens with non-farm. A big break this way could still rebalance for the morning. So, one thing I want to look at, let's look at the dollar on a smaller time frame, like right here. We could see, the immediate kind of 5-minute move, and you have a low, you have a high. This works one of two ways. Either this pulls back gently, like a 3.8 or 5.0 pullback on the news, and then continues to push a little bit higher. Okay, or it's a news spike and the market fades it right back down. Okay, and that's why if the market fades this move on the dollar, that's why I wouldn't be surprised for pre-market and opening bell to push a little bit higher this morning on the SPY. Okay. Rich says, you think this is the end of dollar strength? I mean, that seems pretty finite. I think I've said this, all week. I mean, we've gone, the week, by the way, is still a weekly bullish candle. Still. So unless this is just a big reversal day for the dollar, this is still going to be a green candle, and that's 12 in a row. We have not seen that type of run since 2014. And I remember that vividly because that was an August breakout that lasted for, I mean, probably 14 to 15 weeks. I can verify that. Let's go back to 2014. I know it was a long time ago, but this was the last time we had this crazy big run on the dollar. There it is. And I remember that because I was trading it, because I was looking at something like this. Nice little wedge break. Broke out there. That dollar ran a long ways. Now, this is why I'm saying the pullback is likely, right? A red candle is likely. Here's a pretty big run. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. How interesting is that? So this high to this low, that's 12 candles, right? And then what happened over the next 2 weeks? Big pullback in the dollar. Now again, that was still in the dollar trend. I mean, the dollar trend had just come out of this big breakout, so it was just like push, pause, or push, pullback, and then continue. So what I obviously I'm not 100% sure of is how does it translate into price trading this time? We get into current market price up here. We go up 12 weeks in a row. Is it 1 to 2 weeks of a pullback that continues higher, or is it 1 to 2 weeks of a pullback that is now heading lower? Because there is a chance, and I talked about this in Flex this week, there is a chance that this is a broadening pattern on the dollar index. And if that is the case, we might see a dollar weakness move that ends up being more and more bearish on the dollar and gives us some ways to position for it. Okay. So that's some of the outlook I have. What's what I'm watching. And then again, I'm just going to keep spot checking this for the morning, 421. I'm going to see if there's an inexpensive option trade to get a gap fill this morning. Probably a 25-30 delta going, maybe 2 strikes out of the money. If we go up to fill the gap at 424 today, then that should pay pretty well and not cost an arm and a leg versus more at the money, which I could do that too. I mean, I did that one day this week. I had an at the money. I did like the 420 or 422 long call, and I paid like $2 for it, but closed it out for $3. So it's a little bit more expensive, but it was just a quick gap fill. And then the market proceeded to go like $5 lower. So I got in and grabbed some profit. Anyway, all right, let's keep going. Oil. Oil just one big fat red candle this week. Wow, 81.80. Um, I I was like, yeah, I mean, oil by the dip, I'd be interested, but man, this thing has given back a lot of profit in a very quick way. And this, I was going to say, it's mostly recessionary talk. It's mostly global growth that it's slipping on. What does it say? Oil prices slip amid growth concerns, geopolitical moves. So, I mean, we had 35 to 40% upside on oil, and we just had a slip of around 12.5 to 13% in the last week, literally the week. So it has been a very aggressive drop. It's 14% off the highs, just off that. I think I measured that just a little incorrectly. Right there to right there. Yeah, 13.9%, 13, almost 14%. That is a big old pullback. So right here at the 200 EMA again, and right around this 82 to $80 handle, if oil's going to get picked back up in a buy zone, because we did get into the buy zone here, bulls are going to want to see that. Okay. And again, there's two ways to play this. I mean, a lot of traders will just draw a trend line and they'll say, I'll wait for the trend line break. Okay. Price action, because we were in a buy zone. All right. One way we can look at this is, let's say this 200 EMA, drops down below the red line. So let's say our price, penetrates or breaches this 200 EMA, which is my red line. Okay. So we go through it, right? But then we go right back above it. That sometimes is faster than waiting for a trend line break. It's just looking for price action. I could take a stab at that long, stop loss below, and see if the bulls and the bid goes higher. Okay. So that's, again, if I'm buying it, I want to see a little bit more confirmation off that 200 EMA. If this thing just closes below, I mean, again, if it pulls back above the 200 EMA, okay, I can buy it. And all this structure here would make sense. We have some support. So, there's no confirmation to buy yet, but I'm going to be watching oil. I mean, to have like a consolidation, nice little breakout, 30+% to the upside, give it back really quickly. I'm just curious, are the buyers still waiting to get a dip? I am curious if we go into CPI data next week. Let's see what's on the calendar for next week. We just finished non-farm. The market was pretty quiet overall. I'm still looking to see if the SPY stays in a range, like no lower than 422, but no higher than 432. That's what we played this week with a butterfly spread. If price comes back to 424, 425, that's not a bad move. Okay, so let's go to next week's trading. High impact is what I'm looking for. We have PPI, which is Producer Price Index, and that is for the U.S. at 8:30 Wednesday. Usually we have Tuesdays or Thursdays for CPI. Median minutes on Wednesday. PPI on Wednesday. There it is. So CPI is on Thursday next week. So we do have CPI numbers. I'm looking for year over year, and funny how, I mean, if anybody can find this, let me know. But see how we have the yearly CPI? Previous was 3.7. And remember, that was a jump up from 3.3, I believe. So let me take a look here. So it was a previous at 3.2, forecast at 3.6, came in 3.7. And here we are, no forecast, which it's kind of, I don't know why. If anybody can find another economic calendar with a forecast on that, let me know. I can check one other one really quickly. But that's going to be a big one for next week. All right, whatever. Let's go currencies, calendars. Where's my calendar? There it is. So I'm going to go into next week and take a look at this. So date next Thursday is the 12th. So GDP, that's UK in the morning. Get to the US in the after or the late morning. Okay. So no forecast. Get out of here, bro. Right here. So forecast year over year, empty. So let's see when we come into the markets on Monday if there is a print for this. We can go to another reading for trueflation, and it's probably low threes, 2.46. Interesting. Um, this is a third-party inflation reading, but this is not reflected, what the news actually prints. The last time we printed 3.7, this was still showing like 2.7, 2.6. So I guess all I'm looking for this, because it's not the same as the general economic calendar. What I'm looking for this is the trend. So we put in a low. Is this going to start trending back up? Right? That would be where I'd say inflation gets a little bit stickier, a little bit scarier. If we're seeing this number, from 2.46 pops up to like 2.7, 2.83%. If that trend is showing higher, then our CPI prints when they happen, once a month might start to also show some elevated levels. Okay, so there's some data next week that's going to be important to watch. All right. Gold and silver, because of the dollar, gold and silver have been just beat up pretty badly. Gold is still pushing pressure to the downside. This week, especially, I mean, we've had one nasty week of selling, two nasty weeks of selling on gold. Everything shows a sell zone right now. Even my smaller exponential moving averages are crossing over the larger one. So gold is, testing this low. It better hold that low if there's a chance for these bulls to come back and fight in the short term. If all this is a big drop and then another drop, I mean, again, this is why we have to watch the US dollar. If the dollar goes up 12 weeks and then pulls back 1 or 2 weeks, gold will have a short-term pop, more than likely. Okay? So I would just make a note that we might have a short-term play on gold for the next 1 to 2 weeks. We have a short-term play on the dollar the next 1 to 2 weeks, and I wouldn't mind looking at some positioning on that. Silver, same thing. So we broke the structure. You look left on silver, there's still plenty of support here around, this is $18.20. Major support all the way back down to 2020 lows at 14.50. I'm just going to be patient, because if we have a big rip on the dollar to the downside, silver might pop all the way back up here. And then if it pauses and gets back into this bullish channel, it's just a noisy breakout, but maybe the structure still holds, right? So let's see what it does. Bitcoin, no chart alarms went off. I had one chart alarm on Monday go off, and it was at 28. And so I saw that little pop up there at 28.5. Here we are at 29. Chart alarm hasn't been breached. And then down here at the lows at 24.7 have not been breached. So we need to watch. It's really just setting alerts and waiting, because volatility is really low. Um, it's been tough. I mean, the volume, the market cap has come back a little bit, but there's not a lot of day-to-day volatility. There's not a lot of sustained volatility. It seems to be that you get these, big moves, and then price just goes nowhere for a while, right? You get a big move, price goes nowhere for a while, and that's been happening all year. We had this big run, indecision, big run, indecision. I mean, unless you're already positioned for this, that's tough to track and that's tough to time. This one wouldn't have been too bad because we had at least a run, a pullback. I mean, Fibonacci traders probably killed it on that one. Maybe some Fibonacci traders in here as well with the wedge break, but you notice that this didn't go any higher. So for those that were after like, okay, there's my breakout, this is my profit target, they're not there yet. So unless this is still waiting and pending and building, I don't know. I don't know. We have to break 32 to prove bullish. Otherwise, this is, I don't know, potentially just a range in of itself right here, where the top's around 31, the bottom's around 25, and it just stays there. The other side of that would be we have support over here and here and here, and we breached it, right? We breached support. We're consolidating. We pull back a little bit. The bears might end up taking this thing back over back to 20K. So the bigger range is like 20,000 to 30,000. The tighter range is 31 to 25. I didn't draw that straight at all, but you see what I'm getting at here, right? 31 to 25. That could be our intermediate range, and then we have major lows down here around 20K. Okay. All right. Any individual stocks or any currencies you'd like to take a look at? I did some management this week. Took some small losses yesterday. We had some managed trades. I was assigned on a bull put spread for the SPY. Here's my equities on demand. So there are 3 assignments I had to take and fix. Alcoa, I still have shares of Alcoa. I'm protecting the downside. I took a smaller loss. I mean, my initial risk was $2. I took a loss of $1.76. GDRX, I still have some shares on it. I got assigned more. I dumped the new shares. I did a last in first out exit, so I didn't want to keep the shares. My original risk was 95 cents. I lost 70 cents. So I reduced the risk on both Alcoa and GDRX. And then the SPY, this one ended up being, this actually was better because our risk initially was 60 cents and I closed that one out for 40 cents. So I still took a loss, and obviously that's not great, but in the environment where I don't want to get additional shares, I want more buying power. I actually reduced those losses by a decent amount. So rather than losing 295 and 60 cents would be what? 295 and 60 would be 355. So rather than losing 355 in full, I lost $1.76 and 70 and 40. So instead of losing 355, I lost 286. So a little bit of reduction and some shavings there on the loss, which isn't bad. And then the rest, we just hang out. I also had a premiere this week on my Traders Path to 100% playlist. That's right here on the YouTube channel. So I meant to premiere this. I did the video on Wednesday. I thought I premiered it on Wednesday. I actually did it yesterday. So like 4 p.m. yesterday, I think it popped up on my channel. Let me see if I can search. So right there. So I'm starting this video playlist every probably 1 to 2 weeks. I'm gonna post a new episode, and I'm just gonna spot check all of my accounts, where things at, how am I positioning, any changes I'm making. And so if you're interested in following along with some of the symbols I'm trading, stocks and options, how I'm looking at the markets directionally, currencies as well, then this is a good playlist. Jump on board. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, stuff like that. So this has been a lot of fun just to start this. I've been wanting to do this for a while. It gives me a reason to just be vocal and communicate how I'm trading. And right now, this video right here that I posted yesterday, I just talked about playing defense. I talked about being protective of positions. If you own shares, buying puts if you've got control to, and I say buy puts like if you own shares of at least 100 that you can control with like one option contract, buy and protect your entire position, right? If you don't have enough, if you don't have enough, you can still play the put game, but you're just doing it with, okay, let's say I have, I own fractional shares of Apple or fractional shares of whatever stock it is. You can still buy a put, and it's not that expensive, but your one contract controls 100 shares and you only have 10. So I mean, I was just talking about whole positions, protect the whole position. Fractional shares, you can just dollar cost average, or if you wanted to trade, puts, that's fine too, but that's more, you're kind of going after like the trade is the put trade. And for me, it's more like it's just protection. I don't mind paying for a put and having to increase my cost basis. I don't mind losing on the put either, because if I'm losing on the put, it means my stock price is still the same or it's going higher, right? Versus going lower. So anyway, that's a fun video series I'm going to continue to do. There's no, episode blank as the end. It's like I will do this probably every 1 to 2 weeks until, I have 5 or 6 accounts that I've doubled with different symbols and different strategies and different, environments. I mean, we're doing pretty well in the currency world right now. We're up, I don't know, 300 or 400 pips on a position. I'm showing my balance right now is 172. I was up about $360. Now it's up 172. But we're still going to watch and see where those P&L levels we're at and if we have some pullbacks. Okay. All right, cool. I've got some currencies there. Hey, Daniel, what's up? Steve, what's up? Trish, dollar CAD. Yep. Hey, dollar CAD. Let's take a look at that one. 32.20 or 37.20, and I put in a pending order this week in the trading room at 36.75. We still have not filled it yet. I still like this trade, by the way. So if you're not in my flex room, I took this trade this week. It's a stop sell at 1.3675. Okay. And what I'm going after on that trade is this. If we breach this low, we have a nice daily pivot, we have a nice monthly pivot, and we have a big inefficiency back here. We also have a weekly pivot. So really it's this pivot cluster. So 35.50 to 30, let's say 35.40. I'm looking to see if that makes its run. Okay, so it's a stop sell. I didn't want to get in during non-farm payroll. I put that pending order there, I think on Tuesday or Wednesday, and it still hasn't filled yet. So I like that trade on the dollar CAD. In the near term on the dollar CAD, I'm going for something like this. Here's my daily time frame. And I would still like to look to sell the dollar CAD if it comes back up to this high and still look to sell it. But there was a nice resistance zone here. It just popped up that above that high, but that was a divergent high. And we had a harmonic pattern. X, A, B, C, D. X, A, B, C. We're looking for something like, oh, fudge, how did it play out? Was this? No, it was right here. X, A, B, C, D. Yeah, it was right there. There. Little harmonic pattern, looking for that to rebalance towards like 35 or lower, 35.50 or lower. Okay. So that's what I'm looking at in the euro dollar or the dollar CAD. If it works out, also remember, 12 weeks in a row hasn't happened since 2014 in the dollar. So if we have a 1 or 2 week pullback on the dollar, dollar CAD probably drops. We have a 1 or 2 week pullback in the dollar, look for the Aussie dollar to go up. We're positioned for this in the flex room right now, right? I'm looking for Aussie dollar. If it holds, I'm looking to see if the Aussie dollar will rip to the upside. If we end up putting in a bullish pattern, great. I want to get back to the midpoint of this broadening pattern. New Zealand dollar. Oops, that's New Zealand CAD. New Zealand dollar, same type of thing. If it's holding these lows and we get some dollar weakness, I'm looking for this. Hold the lows, rip back up here to the middle of this range, right around 6,200. Okay. Euro dollar, I see that Jason's asking euro dollar, pound dollar. So I'm looking for trend line breaks on these. Okay. This is another one that if you want to watch for this over the next 1 to 2 weeks, it's not ideally where I want to be buying the dollar, but I will say this: a daily time. I mean, here's what I'll say. I'm going to take a trade, Jason, based on probability. Okay. I'm going to take a trade on the euro dollar and the pound dollar, and I'm going to do it today. And so, again, you're here live, non-farm payroll. I'm going to base this on two things. It's going to be a time-based stop, which means this. I'm going to take a buy trade on the euro dollar right now at 104.96. I'm going to put this in my flex room. Okay, and I'm going to take a dollar buy on the pound dollar as well. I'm looking for 1 to 2 weeks of dollar weakness. It's a shorter term trade, but based on the technicals of that DXY and US dollar, I think the dollar turns a little bit and gives us a rally. So I'm going to take a euro dollar, I guess I'm going to call all caps. So euro dollar buy. Today is the 6th, 1.0496. Yep, I'm going to take a buy trade, and I'm going to go active. Live buy at market price, looking at 12 bullish weeks on DXY, and now expecting a 1 to 2 week minimum correction. Okay, so I'm going to take a buy trade at 104.96. Do I have a dollar piece in, like a target in mind? Actually, I haven't taken the trade yet, so let's see if we go down to 1. All right, I'll get a better fill then. Okay, so it's 104.80. I guess I'll finalize it when I put it in, but let me get my phone out. I'll put this in now, so 104.90. All right, 1.0490. And then pound dollar. A couple levels we can look at short term. Okay, if I take a buy trade right here, I'm looking for that trade. So at the very least, let's go back to a pivot cluster. And, that pivot cluster is sitting there around 106.50. That's over 150 pips. I'll take that trade. Okay, so I'll put 106.50 on here for a profit target. Immediate profit target is monthly pivot for October. Right there. Okay. All right. I'm going to get that in right meow. So let me log in here. Very good. Let's go trades. Okay. 1.0650. Okay, and then I'm also going to take a trade on the pound dollar, just a market order. Pound US dollar, it's at 21.29. Buy. Okay, market order, buy. And let's see a price on the pound US dollar. Pound USD. We'll do the same thing. Let's go after this little, 3 candle inefficiency monthly pivot around 23.40. So I'll put that in for a take profit price, 1.2340. Submit, go. And that was an entry at 21.29. Okay. Oops. Okay, so let me add that in as well. So pound dollar, buy, today's date, 1.2129 was my fill. Don't delete my decimals. And then the pivot was 2340, even better. 2340. Okay, so active, live buy at market price. There we go. And I'll put here, well, the nice thing is I can repeat exactly that. It's just 2 different trades. So euro dollar, pound dollar. And, again, if you're like, well, Chris, you're taking this trade where you put the stop loss. I'm basing the stop loss on time, meaning I think over the next 1 to 2 weeks, the dollar index doesn't go higher. So I'm going to trade probabilities. And another one that's kind of nice to see is this is a daily time frame, everybody. This is one of my favorite things to show on a daily time frame is that we are holding, oversold conditions with divergence on a daily time frame. To me, this has a nice little pop to the upside written all over it. Okay. So I like the trade. If each one gives us a few hundred pips, that's not a bad play. Just going to make a note here. DXY showing 12 bullish weeks in a row. Even in 2014, when we had 12 in a row, we had a solid DXY pullback. Okay, so we good on those trades? Daniel, thanks for bringing that up. That just made me take a look at them. See here, dollar CAD got close to where I was looking at. See the divergence on the 1 hour. But wait, okay. I'm just going to keep that one as is. Yep. So these are new. These will both be active now in blue and not that blue, that blue. There we go. And so, essentially, I was already positioned in the Aussie dollar long, and I'm already positioned in the New Zealand dollar long. I'm looking to get short on the dollar CAD. I'm long dollar Swiss, so I suppose that's my hedge. I haven't traded the dollar yen, but like I said, I think technically the dollar gets weaker, and I'm going to see if, with dollar weakness, even if it kicks in next week, I'm just going to look to be long the SPY potentially. And like I said, for today's trading until closing bell, as long as we don't invalidate 420, if we come back up and fill the gap, I'm going to look for that today. So we still have a little bit of time. I'll wrap up this session before opening bell, and then just prep for equities on demand and see if I can post a Delta Trader move for maybe a 2 to 3 strike out of the money trade. But I'm looking for a gap fill if we can get it. Okay. Any other charts? Any other questions? The fear gauge, the VIX, popped up to 20 there for a little bit. We'll see if it gets faded right back down. The VIXM, that's a derivative of that. We're up to $20 and change. This is actually a pretty big pop here. 20.41 is larger. We're going to take a look at our long call. I think I took another long call, right? It talked me into it once again for like, what do we take on that trade? Equities on demand. I think we traded for like 40 or 50 cents on the VIXM, or maybe it was 30 cents. I did an out of the money by one strike, not Delta Trader. Um, it was in here for VIXM. Yeah, I did a $21 long call for 36 cents, and I did 3 contracts. So I'm risking right around $100, $105. But if this starts to gain a little bit, then yeah, that's my little hedge. Maybe we can turn this into like a 3 or 4x return if we see additional fear. Which this would be the reason I'm playing protection, right? I'm playing defense. If the volatility index pops up, I want to make money on that trade. As my ownership price, if the stock price drops, I want to have protection with long puts. Okay. So like yesterday, for example, I took some profit on a put on URA. I was long around $27. I did a $25 put. It was down here. I took some profit, and that lowered my cost basis by about $2. So my break even is now 25, and right now we're sitting around 25.78. So I actually lowered my cost basis just with a long put. It's kind of nice, but I want to keep watching that protection. Okay. Any other thoughts? Any other questions? Any other charts today? Otherwise, we can wrap it up here for the session. I don't know. There's more to watch today. We're at 421 and change. I'm still looking for a gap fill around 424. If we put in lows today, I mean, you have to remember where the market opens. This is all kind of futures fluctuating prior to the market open. And if we come back up to 424, the market's just showing a couple days of indecision with a couple of weeks of indecision. My hope today on the SPY is that we work our way back to 424, 425, maybe even 426. And we still have a butterfly spread that should be looking to pay out pretty nicely if those levels I just said get hit. 425, 426 would be very profitable. 427 would be ideal. But anyway, we will watch. NASDAQ futures, sure. Intraday, you're looking for something like this. That's interesting. So NASDAQ E-mini futures down 14. This is 14,681. So I feel like you ask me this when I see this a lot. I feel like the last time you asked that in the YouTube session, it was like, this is what I saw, or this is what I saw. So anyway, I mean, as far as intraday direction, this is what I'd be looking for. Watch this low, watch this high, and see if price bounces today. Right? I mean, if it does and it's just range bound, this goes with the last couple of weeks, which is what I said. I was cautious going into this week for any direction. We had such a big indecision week last week. Look at this. You see how last week's candle is a big indecision candle, long wick up and down? This week's candle is more bearish with a candle, but the week is not done. If we start here but hold support and we push back up for the day, this body, the body of this candle becomes very thin. And it's another kind of indecision looking candle for the last 2 weeks. So on the daily time frame and even intraday, I'll take this down to like the 1 hour time frame. I would just watch this structure here. The last several days of trading, to me, this looks like we have indecision. So with the pre-market this morning, this is the futures feed, so it's obviously live at 14,675. But if this bounces back up, I would look for a shorter term play to the upside. And if obviously if price like breaks this level and goes like, okay, it's a breakout. But I think on a Friday and non-farm payroll day, usually this is a, market gets kind of caught off its heels and then rebalances for a non-farm day. I don't see a lot of breakouts and follow-throughs on non-farm. So I could see this where price just kind of stays within the range for the week. Those are my thoughts. Okay. All right, everybody. I'll let you go for this morning. Got a little breather before 10 o'clock EOD. I'm looking for that trade. Like I said, if there's a gap filler, we can look at. I'm not just going to jump in and buy it. I'd like to see if price will retest like 420, 420.50, and maybe get a better chance there to lower the cost on a long call. But the long call is going to be cheap. I mean, I do a couple strikes out of the money, so it's maybe 40 to 50 cents. And if it pays, it works up to like a dollar 50. Okay, so thanks for being here. Just gonna type this in the chat. Happy Friday. And check out the Trader's Path to 100% playlist. Episode 1, Episode 2 available. Okay. All right, everybody. Happy Friday. I also have so equities on demand class at 10 a.m. Eastern time, and also a portfolio builder class at 4 p.m. So just another check in on our currencies, how we're doing, any more positions we have to add or talk about or update our spreadsheets and stuff like that. So I'll see you then. He's okay, Denise. Thanks for asking. It was weird, like just a episode of like dehydration. A lot of, and I attribute it to the fact that he was on the road with me last week for like 50 hours of driving. He didn't eat very well last week because he was kind of out of his element between in the car, rest stops, gas stations, hotels. So I just think maybe he kind of came back in and just had a little bug or something. So, but it was 3 or 4 hours in the vet yesterday and just kind of hanging out waiting. But yeah, he's fine. Yep. Try CBD. No, I mean if his stomach will take it, this dude has like the most sensitive stomach of any dog I've ever had. So I'm always careful stuff like that. But sure, it doesn't hurt to try it. All right. Anyway, all good. I'll let you go. And equities on demand students to see you in a little bit at 10 o'clock. Thanks. Bye.